So how exactly do you stand out in a game played by literally millions of people? It's a pretty fascinating question, right? When a digital universe like Minecraft has virtually endless possibilities, how does a creator actually rise to the top? Well, today we're going to look at the massive ecosystem of Minecraft content, and we're going to trace the fascinating funnel that takes players from casual creative building all the way down into a subculture of hardcore mathematical obsession. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive, a descent, really, into the increasingly intense subcultures of Minecraft. We'll start at the surface, but as we dig deeper, we're going to quickly find ourselves looking at extreme probability math and a controversy that completely shook the gaming world. Here's our roadmap for the journey today. We'll cover content creation to speedrunning, the anatomy of a speedrun, the history of the world record, the cheating scandal, and finally, the math of luck. Let's jump right in. Section 1. Content creation to speedrunning. Let's take a look at how players initially carve out a space for themselves online. At the very top of the funnel, growing a channel relies heavily on highly accessible formats. You have step-by-step tutorials for beginners, those intense 100-day hardcore survival challenges, creative speed builds against the clock, mod showcases, and your classic survival mode Let's Plays. These formats are really all about creativity and storytelling. But what happens when simply playing the game kinda isn't enough anymore? What happens when players decide they want to push the absolute limits of the game's code? Section 2, Anatomy of a Speedrun. This is the highly competitive and deeply technical world where players are racing to beat Minecraft as fast as humanly possible. Okay, so the crucial core of a modern Minecraft speedrun boils down to a 4-stage progression. First, you spawn in the overworld, where you frantically gather iron and wood and use water and lava to instantly mold a nether portal. Second, you jump into the dangerous nether dimension to trade gold with piglins for ender pearls and kill blazes for blaze rods. Third, you're back to the overworld, combining those items to make Eyes of Ender and tracking down the hidden stronghold. And finally, you enter the end dimension and defeat the Ender Dragon. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? Well, let's look at the sheer technical depth required at the highest levels of play. To optimize their time, top-tier runners are literally reading the game's code while playing. Take Pyre, for example. Runners pop open the game's diagnostic pie chart menu, isolate the data for block entities, and actually manipulate the render distances. By crossing chunk borders and paying really close attention to how that data chart changes, they can mathematically locate hidden mob spawners, like those absolutely crucial blaze spawners, right through solid walls. It's wild. And this next trick brilliantly illustrates the level of human optimization we're talking about: triangulation. When they're back in the overworld, runners don't just blindly follow the Eyes of Ender. No way. They throw one and record the exact angle down to the decimal. Then they move precisely 17.5 blocks away, throw another one, and record that angle. By calculating the difference between the two angles, they can pinpoint the exact coordinates of a stronghold thousands of blocks away without wasting a single second searching. Section 3. History of the world record. When you combine thousands of players utilizing these intense mathematical strategies, it has a staggering effect on completion times. Just look at the insane progression of the random seed category. Way back in 2014, Tara Kitchen held a seemingly unbeatable record of 43 minutes and 23 seconds. Over the years, with new game updates and strategies like Pyre and triangulation, those times totally plummeted. By 2019, Illumina slashed it down to under 24 minutes. And then, in 2021, Brentolda utilized a flawless combination of these techniques to achieve a staggering 9 minutes and 36 seconds. The margins for error were essentially reduced to zero. Which brings us to Section 4, the cheating scandal. Because when the margins for a world record are this razor thin, players are left entirely at the mercy of randomized item drops. To really grasp this scandal, you have to understand the speedrunner's biggest bottleneck. Remember the nether stage? You absolutely need ender pearls and blaze rods to finish the game. But here's the catch. When you trade gold to a piglin, there is only about a 5% chance they give you ender pearls. And when you kill a blaze, there is exactly a 50% chance they drop a blaze rod. If you get bad luck here, your world record pace is instantly dead in the water. And this specific anomaly is what triggered the whole investigation. The expected drop rates hard-coded into the game are 5% for pearls and 50% for rods. However, over 6 consecutive streams, a highly popular creator named Dream achieved a 16% success rate for pearls and a 69% drop rate for rods. Naturally, the community flagged this anomaly right away. So the moderation team crunches the initial math on someone getting exactly that lucky across that many attempts. And they found what is called a naive p-value. The odds were 1 in 20 sextillion. Honestly, it's a number so large it's almost impossible for the human brain to comprehend. But in statistics, a naive estimate just isn't enough to make a formal accusation. You have to dig deeper.
Section 5, the math of luck. Let's head down to the very bottom of our iceberg and unpack the grueling mathematical analysis used by both sides to verify these odds.
To keep things accessible, let's use a coin flip analogy. If you flip a coin 5 times, what are the odds you get exactly 2 heads? You can't just guess, you actually have to list out all the possible sequences and multiply the probabilities using a binomial distribution formula. In this context, calculating a p-value simply means calculating the exact probability that someone could get these specific Minecraft success rates by pure chance, assuming they didn't modify the game. Now, the moderation team knew that 1 in 20 sextillion number was flawed because it completely ignored observational biases. So they meticulously corrected the math to give the runner every possible statistical benefit of the doubt. They corrected for the stopping criterion, realizing a runner might just stop streaming while they're on a hot streak. They factored in stream selection, noting they were only analyzing the 6 luckiest streams out of 11 total. They adjusted for runner selection, recognizing there are about 1,000 active speedrunners out there, meaning someone is bound to get lucky. And finally, they accounted for p-hacking, acknowledging they had checked multiple different item drops just to find this anomaly in the first place. So what happened after mathematically combining the probabilities of both the pearl trades and the blaze rods and heavily correcting for all of those biases? The moderation team revealed their final p-value. The odds of achieving those drops by pure chance were 1 in 7.5 trillion. The moderation report ultimately concluded with this statement, calling those 1 in 7.5 trillion odds, quote, a loose upper bound on the chance that anyone in the Minecraft speedrunning community would ever get luck comparable to dreams. Based purely on this extreme mathematical impossibility, they concluded the run was illegitimate. But of course, the story doesn't end there. An astrophysicist was hired by the creator to publish a critique of the moderation team's math. The astrophysicist argued the naive estimate was flawed, specifically regarding when runners stopped trading. They also drastically changed the bias corrections. Instead of a pool of 1,000 runners, they calculated based on 100,000 speedrun attempts per year. Instead of 90 p-hacking variables, they expanded it to over 1,300 pairs. And through these massive adjustments, the defense calculated the odds at 1 in 100 million. Still incredibly rare, for sure, but theoretically not impossible.
However, independent mathematical analyses, which is actually what we're drawing heavily from for this explainer, pointed out some pretty critical flaws in the astrophysicist's logic. You see, while the mod team used exact, analytical mathematical formulas and carefully combined the biases, the astrophysicist's paper relied heavily on rounded approximations and what turned out to be deeply flawed Monte Carlo computer simulations, basically testing the odds by running randomized computer trials. And that independent analysis showed exactly where the defense fell apart. For instance, in their paper, the astrophysicist argued against a specific formula by claiming a simple test of getting 20 heads in 100 coin tosses had odds of 1 in 6,300, based on their computer simulation. But actually, when independent mathematicians ran the exact analytic solutions and ran proper 10 million trial simulations to verify, the true odds were roughly 1 in 25,189. It turned out the defense's foundational math had undeniable coding and calculation errors, meaning their pushback of 1 in 100 million just wasn't accurate. The moderation team's original math held strong. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. We started out talking about people just, building digital houses, and we somehow ended up analyzing binomial distributions and Monte Carlo simulations to verify world records. It really forces us to ask, in the modern era of gaming, where exactly do we draw the line between impossible, trillion-to-one luck, and the absolute peak of human optimization? It's a wildly fascinating question. Thank you so much for diving down this rabbit hole with me today, and I hope you enjoyed the explainer. Keep learning and keep questioning.